It's 2 o'clock and time for, hey Frederico, thanks for being on time. Let us know where you're coming from, Frederico, and anybody else that's on the broadcast today. When you jump on, tell us what city and state you're from, or at least the state if you don't mind. But, hey, Houston, Tatora, Hector, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being on time, too. Again, just my standard introduction here. It's nice to have all of you on here on the Periscope broadcast, those that are watching live and those that are watching on the replay. But if you feel this is of interest, this information I'm giving is of interest, hello, Andrianos. If you feel it's of interest, please don't hesitate to forward the link to your folks, everybody you're connected with. Thank you for the hearts. Or tweet it out. Put it on all the social links that you can, and just forward it on. It's a good way to leverage this information and get it out there. Thanks for coming on, KEVKC. Again, let us know what state you're in. If you have a question, type it in, and JD Barn, and I will hopefully read it. If I miss it because I'm looking down, then I'll get back to it, or post it again if I don't answer your question, because I do want to answer all your questions. Please be generous with your taps down in the right-hand corner where you give me the hearts. I do have a goal of getting 5,000 hearts this month. Hey, J.D. Barn, thanks for joining us. And that will help us all if you give me some hearts. So what we're going to talk about today is networking. And first off, the support team that you develop through your networking activity. This may seem like an obvious topic, but I think it's worthy of some discussion here today, and we're going to cover that in detail. Networking is an old term. We've all heard it, but I'm not sure everybody understands the best way to network and get the most from your networking efforts. We are social animals. We like to get together in groups. No man is an island. Nobody ever wants to live alone and never interact with people. And if you take it from that extreme to the socializing extreme, we all want to be around others and we want to communicate with them. And the key to networking is the ability to network and to communicate with other people. So we want to talk about some specific ways to do that here today. As real estate investment professionals, we need to be hypersensitive about this concept of networking, because you'll find that a lot of your deals and your private money will come from your networking activities. So networking is extremely important if you're going to be in this real estate game and want to make money at it and find good deals. I mean, that's the key to the whole thing, is buying low and selling at some point in the future for a higher price. And so think of it as like a spider web that is cast out upon your entire community, and you have these little networks, these little contact points within that web, and when they hear of a deal and they think of you, they tap the web and it rolls right on back down to you, and all of a sudden you get a phone call or a text or some kind of a communication saying, hey, Randy, there's somebody, my next door neighbor is looking to sell his house, and I told him you're a house buyer and he wants to talk to you. So the more you spread this web of, this positive web of people communicating and looking for deals for you, the more successful you'll be. But how do you do that? Well, initially you need to do it by helping others succeed. In other words, you can't just form a new friendship today and ask that friend to help you become successful tomorrow. You're going to find that it will be much more productive for you if you say to your friend, what can I do to help you? And the more people you help, the more people that will end up helping you accomplish your goals. But start by offering help to others, and then do the asking later on, if necessary. It probably won't even be necessary, because once you start helping others, they're going to feel like they want to help you. So, hey, J.D. Barn, thanks for joining us. Let us know where you're coming from. Thanks a lot for those hearts there. Let's spend a few minutes on how to network. You do have to do more than just push that business card out in front of people. And we talked in the last broadcast about marketing and getting your business cards out there. And that's important, but it's more than just handing it out and forgetting about it. So what follows are some of the things to keep in mind when you are out networking. So make your network as expansive, that means as wide as possible. Hey Bernie from Indiana, thanks for joining us. Make your network expansive, and frequently when someone resides in a different county or a different area of yours, a different state perhaps, they might even be able to help you find deals. And if nothing else, people that live at a distance can have solutions in common to problems that we all face in this business. So my point is, just because somebody is out of state or out of your county doesn't mean they can't be of value to you, and you can be of value to them. You know, information sharing is important as well. And in this day and age, it really doesn't matter where anybody lives, because we're all so connected that we can get on Periscope, or we can go on Skype, we can email and exchange information and learn from each other. I mean, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel here. The real estate game just repeats itself over and over. You know, it's all cyclical. It's going up. It's going down. There are only so many ways to be creative in financing, in buying and selling, and they've all already been used. They've all been invented. It's going to be the rare person that's going to come up with a brand new concept that no one ever has thought of and no one's ever done before. And I suspect you're not going to, and I haven't come up with it. I've learned from my mentor 40 years ago, who taught me everything he knew, and that's why I like to teach others what I know now. So treat everybody as a person, not as a statistic. You want to get to know them personally, not just on a business level, but on a personal level. So, you know, share a secret with them, share a tender moment out of your life with them, and they'll tend to want to do the same in return. And that's kind of how you build a relationship. Thanks for the hearts there. Appreciate it. So you got my coffee cup. So, I guess what I'm saying overall is just show a genuine interest in the other person. And if you are genuine in your interest with them, they will probably be genuine in their interest back to you. Be prepared to help your network. Be alert for what people in your network are searching for, and help them find it. So let's say you're a house guy like me, and I run across a commercial deal that I'm not interested in, but I recognize that looks like a pretty good deal. You know, maybe the seller's willing to finance it, nothing down, or on a great interest rate and a long-term contract. If I've got somebody in my network that I know is interested in commercial real estate, then I can pick up the phone and call that person and refer that lead to him or her. And my gosh, you do that once or twice in your life, and you make a really solid friend, especially if they end up making a lot of money on the deal. Yeah, you can ask for a fee if you want to. That'll be a personal thing on your part. You could even wrap up the deal in a contract, knowing that you don't want to complete the deal, and then be a bird dog and sell it off to the person that you know is interested in commercial real estate. So several ways you can handle that. That's up to you. But whenever possible, give before you get, is my theme of today. You need to help others and demonstrate that you are an important person for them to know. And they'll be inclined to feel the same way about you, as I mentioned before. So stay in touch with them. We're all busy. We're all running in different directions. An email here, or a phone call there. Lunch. I think lunch is really important. You should schedule at least one lunch a week with your contacts. Find out what they're doing. Let them know what you're doing. Exchange ideas. It's just a great way to keep a relationship going. You can keep those personal contacts many ways. Some people are even going back to, and I've been doing this lately, sending out thank you cards. And everybody kind of got away from that. but and I think that's what makes it unique, is because now when I get a thank you card, I had lunch the other day with a real estate friend of mine, and his son's an attorney, and he brought his son along, and he was asking me about land trust because his son didn't get any land trust education in law school, and he's interested in learning how to create land trusts for his clients. So we had a nice lunch, and I gave him a lot of good information and a lot of good advice. And 2 days later, I got a thank you card from him, and I got a thank you card from his son. So he taught his son to send out thank you cards. Handwritten, thanks a lot for the information, thanks for the lunch, good talking to you, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes the old stuff comes back around. It's kind of like I was talking on a broadcast recently about knocking on doors. That used to be the old way before, even before newspapers were around, is you had to knock on doors. But nobody knocks on doors today, so that's a good thing for you to do. Knock on doors, you'll find some deals. Let's talk a minute about realtors. Realtors can be a great source of information. They've got statistics, demographics, they've got trending information for neighborhoods. They can really help you provide and create your farm area and the vision of your goals for the future. So if you identify that farm area based on accurate information that partially can be supplied by a realtor friend, that's a good thing. They can also help you in advertising, making offers, and some transactioneering. But my personal experience is with realtors is they're not really good at putting deals together unless they're just conventional financing. I mean, if you ask for a note back, they glaze over in their eyes. So sometimes it's difficult to get a creative offer through a realtor, but if you find one that is creative and helpful and wants to work with you, which they should, because if you're going to be a buyer, you're going to be creating a lot of commission money from them if they can find deals for you to sell to you, and they make the commission. So again, realtors are kind of like a hybrid bird dog. Once you let them know what you're looking for, they can be on the hunt looking for you. And of course, with the way the computers are these days, they can put your name and your criteria that you're looking for into their system, and you'll get automatic emails when those listings occur. So it can all be automated very easily in this day and age. Talking about that farm area, again, we're not talking agricultural, we're talking about farming and growing your net worth through the acquisition of single-family houses in specific areas of your town. And I did go into detail in the previous Periscope broadcast about the farming areas, so if you missed that, send me an email and I'll send you the link if you can't find it here on Periscope. I'll be giving my email address out in a few minutes. The farm area that you pick out, it's extremely important that you understand the sales activity in that area, the average home price, the list to sale price. That's extremely important, and again, that's all information you can get from your realtor friends. Days on the market. Obviously a listing that's been on the market for 500 days is going to be a little more receptive to a low offer than somebody who just listed their house 2 days ago. Investors are also a good source for your network of people that are going to end up helping you, and you're going to help them. So your investors, you might think initially that, well, investors are my competitors, why would they help me? But that's really not the case. As I mentioned earlier, they may be investors in some other type of real estate. There's so many kinds of real estate out there. Don't limit yourself to only dealing with people that are doing what you're doing. Get to know those other investors, because they're going to be running into deals, and if they're only in commercial real estate but they run into a house deal and they know you're a house buyer, they can feed you those leads. So network with other investors. A good way to do that is in a local real estate investment club. So you could Google that in your area. Meetup groups, there are thousands of meetup groups around the country. So go to meetup.com and you can search within 5 miles, 10 miles, 100 miles of your city, and you can put in real estate investment clubs at meetup.com, and they will pop up. Just there's so many there. It's hard to even decide which one to join. You might want to join more than one. Some of those meetup groups don't even meet physically. That's all done online. Some of them do meet up once every month or so for an actual live presentation by someone with a topic on real estate investing. Networking with this group of investors can bring to the surface many different types of investment leads, and there seems to be an ongoing supply of leads, and I want to run through a few of these here just to give you some ideas on other folks that you can tap into to find your deals. Tired landlords. There are a whole lot of people out there that get into this business and for one reason or another want to get out right away. And to be honest with you, it's a lot harder to get out of real estate investing than it is to get into real estate investing. And so if someone got into it, they found out that managing real estate's not for them, or they don't like the stress of vacancy or whatever the problem is, they may be a great lead for you to buy property from them and take that obligation off their back certainly at some kind of a discount to you. If you're going to solve their problem, you should be compensated for it. There are confused investors out there. There are private money sources. There are self-directed pension plans, successful investors who want to retire, and tired investors, which probably is one and the same as a successful investor who wants to retire. The older I get, the more I realize how I wish when I was a younger man that I could have met up with an older man or woman who had a portfolio that wanted to sell, because it fits, especially from a tax standpoint, it fits just perfect if you take an old person and a young person, and the old person sells their portfolio to the younger person, perhaps on a very low down payment monthly basis where they make contract payments. And just think about this, because let's say the older guy's got 50 single family houses and they're all depreciated to zero. So he's got all this cash flow coming in because many of his houses, if not all of them, are paid for. He has no depreciation. He's getting killed on his taxes. If he sells for all cash, he's probably going to get killed on capital gains and recapture taxes. But and then in all that money that he would get from those 50 houses, let's say it's $3 million, what's he going to do with it? Put it in the bank at 0.25% of interest? You cannot replace the income generated by those 50 houses with interest income using the same equity taken over and put in a bank account. Doesn't work. You'll starve to death. You won't make enough money to survive, even though you've got $3 million in the bank at 0.25% interest. Ain't enough to live off of. So if the older guy takes those 50 houses and sells them to the younger woman who's proven herself as an investor on a low down payment, and he gets monthly payments on his income, let's say 6 or 7% interest, which is fair, now he's making 600 to 700% higher than what the banks are willing to pay him for the same amount of equity. And his equity is still in those houses, protected by the houses, until the buyer pays him off in full. Now, the lady who bought these houses buys them at new price, starts new depreciation schedules, and she starts to pay down at the 27.5-year schedule. So it's a great combination if you put old investors and new investors together, if you can get them to agree on it. So use that idea You could even advertise looking for somebody. You know, if you're a young guy, young gal, put an ad in the paper or online and say, you know, looking to buy a portfolio of properties from somebody ready to retire. We talked about investment clubs. There are real estate seminars that go around, but be careful about those because a lot of them are expensive and don't give you the value that they purport to give you. Certainly there are websites for real estate investors, a lot of online information, newspaper advertisements. You can go to classified ads, the local and the large circulation newspapers, just to name a few. So lots and lots of ways you can get information for free on how to build your portfolio. And I'm operating under the assumption that you want to be a long-term real estate investor, not just somebody who's going to buy and flip and make $5,000 or $10,000 here or there. Hey, Andy, glad you joined us. That you want to be a long-term investor, because investing long-term is the only way you're going to get wealthy. If you only invest for the short term, you're going to just have a job, and if something happens to you, your health goes bad or whatever happens, and you can't do that job anymore, you're out of business. So you need to build wealth with long-term thinking. And I understand you got to pay the grocery bill at the same time, right? So some of your deals are going to generate cash to live off of now, and some of them you're going to cull out for future long-term gain. Okay, checking my notes here. Confused investors. This is a group somewhat like the tired investors, but having their own characteristics. They come to many investment meetings. They spend a lot of time and a lot of money. Some up to $20,000, $30,000 I've seen spend money on investment advice, one seminar or home study course or whatever it is, but they never pull the trigger. You know, it's often called the paralysis of analysis. They spend so much time analyzing, they just can't make a decision, and this is very sad because it's a class of investors that have all the tools and the training that they need. They just can't make a decision and pull the trigger to buy something. So they may be good bird dogs for you. Maybe they're finding deals, but because of their lack of confidence, they can't or don't want to close a deal. So they might be a good bird dog for you. You'll identify those, especially if you go to the real estate meetings. You'll run into these confused investors because they kind of have a days across their eyes, or they're always writing large checks but never doing anything. Okay, private money sources. Private money lenders are all around. You'd be surprised. And don't judge a book by its cover. I have a personal friend who I've known for the past 30 years who has built up quite a portfolio of real estate. I think he's got about 20-some houses, and he's got 4 or 5 large apartment complexes, and he lives off of his real estate investments. But if you saw him, he looks like a Grizzly Adams, if you remember who that guy was on TV, a mountain man, long hair way down his shoulders, his shirt's torn, his pants are torn, he's got muddy boots on, he's got a long beard. You would swear he's homeless if you saw him. But he could buy and sell most anybody around here after spending so much time over the last 30 years building his investment portfolio. And he did it slowly. He started out with a janitorial business, and that's how he supported himself and his wife. They both ran the janitorial business while they bought single-family houses. He bought the worst he could find in decent neighborhoods, but the ones that were just trashed. He went in, gutted them, put in new everything, new windows, new furnace, new air conditioner, everything, and he amortized them over 15 years. Now, what that does is it kills your cash flow because you put money into this house, although he put all the labor in, that saved him a lot of money there, but he put all this money into the house, and then he financed it on such a short term that there was no way it was going to cash flow. But he didn't care. He didn't need cash flow to live off of. He needed cash flow to pay down his debt on that house. And his thinking was, in 15 years, I'll have all these houses paid for, and I'll be in pretty good shape. And now he is. So it's a great plan, and it worked well for him, and you might think about that. But my point here is he could be a private lender, but if you saw him in a social setting, you'd probably stay away from him and think he's just some bum. Don't make that judgment. I don't know if any of you have ever read the Millionaire Next Door book, but that will tell you that there are a lot of people that don't look like they have money that have a lot of money. And right now they are looking for ways to invest that securely, and real estate is the best way to invest securely right now. The banks just aren't covering it for us. So these people can be kind of a safe harbor for, you can provide a safe harbor for these people's money, and they're secured. You can give them a first mortgage. I've done a lot of borrowing from private lenders, people that I know personally, people that know that I've been around a long time, that I pay my bills, and they know they're going to get their payment, but they're also getting a first mortgage security interest in the property, so they're protected, and I've got a good deal because I've borrowed it at below market interest rates. Sources that you might talk to about private money, people that have savings accounts. My accountant was telling me the other day that he's got a client that's got $400,000 in a checking account. And I said, that's insane, have him call me and we'll talk to him and try to put him into a property that with four $100,000 properties that are maybe free and clear now, that say I want to put $100,000 of debt on each property, I could pay him 3, maybe 4% interest, which would be a great deal for me, and it'd be a super deal for them, 300 to 400% higher than they get at the bank. And it could all be wrapped up legally and safely, so all parties are protected. Certificates of deposit, people that have those, they're maybe making 1%, maybe 2% if they got a large amount of enough money and put it out there long enough. IRAs, self-directed SEPs, self-directed defined benefit pension plans, 403B plans. These are retirement programs that people have. The list goes on and on. If the private lender prospect has a self-directed retirement plan, that means that they can tell whoever the custodian of their funds are to invest them here, invest them there. And they can say, I want to invest $100,000 of the first mortgage over on Randy's property. So private money lending is a great way to make money in this business. If you think long term, the savings of the difference between 3% and say 5%, if the private lender gives you 3% and the banks are charging you 5%, you're saving 2%. And if you have very many houses, that's going to add up, and over a lifetime, it's a huge amount of money. It may not sound like a lot initially, but it is a huge amount of money over a lifetime. You can talk to the a lot of professionals that make money but don't have time or interest in investing in real estate. The professionals like doctors and lawyers and dentists and accountants, especially accountants, because not only they might have money to invest, but they know clients and what their clients have in the way of cash. So they've got an inside track on who's got the money. So making friends with a few accountants in town is a great idea. So learn all you can about these pension plans because they can be a great source of private money to you. Another thing you can do is, let's say you've got a pension plan and your buddy across town has got a pension plan. You can't borrow from your own pension plan. Most of the time you cannot. But you could say, I'll tell you what, John, have your pension plan loan me $100,000, and my pension plan will loan you $100,000, and that's perfectly legitimate. And it's a way of getting $100,000 out of your pension plan legitimately without having problems with the IRS. All right. Moving along. Any hearts? Can you give me any hearts out there, guys? Any questions, gals? There we go. Thank you. I never did see where people were from. If you can, shoot me those states. I think there was just one that actually said a state. What state are you watching from? Or what country? I know this is broadcast all around the planet. So let's go on our list here. Successful investors who want to retire. This can be a great source. Indiana, hey, good to see you, Indiana. It's got a good land trust statute in Indiana. Successful investors who want to retire. We've already talked about this a little bit, but it can be a great source for buying not only one property, but multiple properties if you're interested in buying a bunch of properties. I had a guy I bought some houses from about 15 years ago. He was a partner with another guy, and they owned 200 houses together. And one guy wanted to retire, and the other guy didn't. So they split the houses, 100 and 100. And the one guy who wanted to get rid of his started selling them off, and I ended up buying 30 houses from him in one transaction. Excuse me. So you can buy in large quantities if you want to. Just be careful because you're talking quite a bit of money. Here's another reason you might want other investors in your network, which is unique to using a land trust. When you follow my advice and put every property into its own separate land trust, finding enough trustees for each land trust can be a challenge. So what I suggest to my students is when they ask me, how do I find trustees, I can provide professional trustees for you, but they're going to charge you money. And so I always like to go the non-money way if I can. If you are developing relationships in your networking system that we're talking about here today with other investors, they can serve as your trustee, you can serve as their trustee, and neither one of you charge each other. It reminds me, I do have a whole chapter in my home study course on who can and who should be your trustee, and in there I describe a way to take one person and turn them into 6 different names of trustees, because it does become a challenge if you're trying to put individual trustees on each land trust you create. So what I suggest to my students is for them to find other investors, meet with them, talk to them, and see if they're interested in using trusts and you're interested in using trusts, then serve as each other's trustee without any charge. You might remember a few minutes ago when I encouraged you to go out there and build these relationships and expand your network outside of your county and further than that if you can, even outside of the state, is even a better asset protection technique, is for your trust and your trustee to be out of state. That becomes important when you're selecting the trustee for your land trust, is where they live. Certainly you don't want them in the same county in which the property is located. As always, if you want to know more about land trusts, you are welcome to contact me. You can stay tuned because I'll give you my email address here in a minute and send me an email if you want some free information about land trusts. Okay, let's move on to bankers. Who'd ever think that a stodgy old banker would be somebody you'd want to talk to about borrowing money? Because those guys have money, but they never want to give it to anybody. But don't forget that they do finance home builders and rehabbers and wholesalers and some big-time investors. So bankers are good to get to know. Go to lunch once a week with a banker. Let them know that you're looking for houses. They may have a client that comes to them and says, I've had this loan with you, Mr. Banker, for 20 years, and it's now getting paid off, and I'm getting tired. Do you know anybody that might want to buy my property? So bankers know a lot about what's going on in town. Give them an opportunity to give you that information. Remember, networking is an ongoing activity, so dismiss this once in once and done type of mentality. You know, you're not going to just throw out your card and expect somebody to start bringing you deals. It just doesn't work that way. People are going to be moving in and out of your professional life, and for one reason or another, they'll be moving in and out of your network. You do need a core network, which I would call an attorney, your accountant, and a title company. You really need to have that title company because oftentimes problems will crop up about title, and if they know you, they will work with you. If they don't know you or you're not consistently using them, they're not going to go out of their way to solve a problem that you might have. And that problem may be worth a lot of money to you to get that problem solved. So mostly give, especially before you ask to take. Be sure to give value to those people that are in your network. That's going to make it easier and more natural for them to give value back to you. So in summary, networking is one of the keys to activity in this business and with favorable results. So set your goals to do some networking each and every day, with all the above contacts that we've been talking about here on today's scope. Words are too similar. And I think you'll be pleased with the results. Thanks for the hearts. If you can give me a few more hearts there, please. Thanks. Oh boy, that's messy. So I don't know if there were any questions I missed. If there were, please type them in now, and I'll address them. And other than that, the whole purpose of these scopes are to add value to what you're doing in your real estate investment business. So when you do this, be sure to make sure you put each property into a separate trust. Believe me, I've been doing this for 40 years. There are a million reasons to put these properties into trust that will save you a lot of headaches. I just last year, August of last year, was saved from a $3.4 million judgment from somebody I'd been doing business with that would have affected me if I hadn't used the trust, and that would have destroyed 35 years of hard work and equity built up in a shopping center that I own had I not put that property into a land trust. So if 35 years of using trust did nothing more for me than save me avoiding a $3.4 million judgment from somebody else's activities, I would say it was probably worth using trust all those years, wouldn't you? It is a simple and easy process to use these trusts. Many of you watching are already part of the special group of people who are making more money and protecting their assets using trusts. So if you're not one of those and you want some free information on land trusts, go to the following website, landtrust, that's singular, landtrustwebinar.com, LANDTRUST webinar.com to learn more. Free. So in the future, I'll be offering more tips like the ones we talked about today. We're going to get into some buying and managing real property concepts. So if you'd like to be notified when these broadcasts are actually scheduled for, send me an email and put "add me" in the subject line. Send it to Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, at mrlandtrust.net, and put "add me," A-D-D-M-E, in the subject line. Hey, J.D. Barn, thanks for joining us. And I will I'll notify you in advance of these scope broadcasts so you can watch them live if you want to. See, that's the advantage of watching these live, is you get to post your questions and have them answered. If you're watching the replay, obviously you can't do that. You can also follow me on Periscope and Twitter, and it's at Mr. Landtrust. Are there any Christmas deals for your Land Trust Made Simple course? Well, that's interesting you asked that. We actually are working on a end of the year special deal on my inventory. I've got right over here on the shelf, and we'll be sending out information. I think it's next week, isn't it, Andrew? We'll be sending out some information next week on that, but yeah, we're going to give a super duper duper year-end discount on some product that I've got collecting dust on the shelves over there. So watch for that. We'll send that out to you soon. You probably have some friends or peers who will benefit from what I've taught here today, so a great way to strengthen and grow your network is by sharing this information with them. So send it to them, and you'll be establishing a more solid relationship with them. So thanks for watching today, everybody. Be sure to watch my next broadcast. Until then, to your real estate success. Goodbye. Swipe down to stop. I'm swiping down.